Or were you eating?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wheel Talk, the podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a girl in a wheelchair. Hello,
You just
Brittany.
hello. You caught me asking Fred if he was chewing gum.
I was
Uh,
chewing gum. Why? Can
uh,
you hear me chewing it?
yes. I was like just gonna say that that's a little distracting, so maybe don't chew the gum.
Okay, noted.
But
I'll pop it down there for later.
I could
Thank
just hear
you.
it like in my audio, and I'm like, I don't know if people can hear that chewing sound. But if that were the case, Joe would not. He would have watched for 2 seconds and then turned it off because he can't stand chewing sounds.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I will. Yeah, I will. I'll chew that later. Thank you.
You're welcome. Always here to make our podcast the best it can be.
How are you today, Brittany? How's your week been?
Oh, I'm trying to think of like all the things that have happened during the week. On the weekend, I went to my friend Ricardo's birthday party, who I was telling everybody about, and he had kidney infection during the whole birthday party. You're blurry for some reason.
It'll come back. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. So he had a kidney infection at his own birthday party, and I was like, why didn't you cancel it? And he's like, I'm fine, I'm good. And then by the end of it, I'm like, you look sweaty and feverish. I'm like, we're gonna get out of here. But it was fun otherwise because one of his friends, that's now my friend Matt, is a professional piano player. Ricardo's a professional piano player too, but his friend Matt is like an entertainer that does like gigs, and he can just play any song in any key, and he's so fun. So he sat at the piano with me for a while, and we were just playing around with like vocal range and like, so I love stuff like that. So it was pretty fun. And of course Ricardo has a baby, so she's very cute
Oh,
and fun to see how much she's growing and stuff. So yeah, it was good.
nice.
What else did I do? I can't really think of what else I did. I don't know. I'm forcing my children to paint the basement bathroom that's been sitting there unpainted for like 7 years. And I was like, you know what? Why are we waiting for Joe to do all this stuff? I'm like, I've got two perfectly capable teenagers that I can force to do anything I want to because I still pay for their food and all that stuff. So
There you go. Free
yeah.
labor.
Totally. I say that all the time, and it's like sort of a joke, but it's not a joke. I'm like, the reason I had kids was, slave labor.
Yeah, child labor. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Get them on it.
I think it's good for them. I really do think it's good for kids. I was telling Jamie this morning, I'm like, when you are an adult and you like get your first house or your first apartment and you want to paint and you're like not afraid to do it because I made you do it when you were 13, you're going to wonder why all your friends are so incapable of, painting their own apartments and why they need some man to do it or some painter that they have to pay $2,000. She's just going to be like, this isn't even hard. I can do it. I've been doing this since I was 13.
Teach them young. Get them in there.
Exactly. Yeah. How about you? What's up since the last podcast?
I've been back home from holiday, and it's been really nice. I've been really indulging in simple pleasures, like afternoon naps, for example, and sleeping a lot. Like I've been sleeping outrageously. Last night I got 10 hours sleep, and the night before that was 9.5, and the night before that was 8.5,
Like
including naps. I know, it's
unin-
ridiculous.
uninterrupted?
Yeah, it's the dream.
I can't sleep longer than 4 hours. Never.
Oh well, I
Like,
mean, I get up for like a little wee wee, but like
oh
not. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I meant. I meant like you just sleep solidly. Because I don't do that. I wish I could sleep longer than 4 hours. But my bladder, even if it's not super full, just is like, yeah, we should probably empty me. And I'm like, it's not full. Why are you waking me up?
Yeah. No, I know
Um,
what you mean. I get up for wheeze. That's absolutely fine. Like, I'd rather get up for wheeze than wake up having, wet the bed. So I'm pretty. I've just been talking to. Like, I had some really good conversations while I was away about starting a family and about what that involves and having a newborn and how much sleep deprivation there is. So I'm like thinking, oh, this is the window of opportunity. This is the window of time before that happens to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the absolute most joy I can from the time, the laissez-faire lifestyle. Beautiful October, the autumnal colours are out. We went for a cycle,
yeah.
using my hand cycle, taking Bonnie for a lovely little walk, and then just coming back and be like, oh, let's have a little nap on the couch. We've been massaging each other. We've been having a wonderful time. It has been, and I've been really enjoying it because I'm like, one day we're gonna reap what we sow. Do you know what I mean? There's gonna be chaos, but right now it's peace. So
Yeah.
enjoy the peacetime, enjoy the naps.
I don't know. I think I had two kids that were very good sleepers. So I don't really know. Jamie had like an odd, you know, 4 or 5 months where she had her naps were really odd because she was moving from two naps to one nap. And so she would fall asleep at like 7 p.m. when normally she should be going to bed at like 10 p.m. And then she would wake up at ridiculous times. And so that was really rough because then I would go to bed at like 1 in the morning sometimes with her. But my kids both slept really well. And so I always think that people over exaggerate the sleep deprivation because I'm like, your kid sleeps pretty much nonstop. It's broken sleep, which is the problem because, when they're newborns, they need to eat every 3 hours or so. So you're just waking up. But I'm like, I'm used to that. So maybe it was just me being paralyzed, being used to broken sleep that it wasn't like so crazy. And I just like my kids just slept in the same room as me. Jacob like had a crib in our room, and then Jamie just slept in the bed with me when she was little. So I know that's bad. I'm gonna get people that are like, that's horrible, but I can't really move around, so it's safe. I wasn't gonna roll over her. I'm paralyzed. Joe didn't sleep in the bed. He slept downstairs.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I didn't find it bad. But the chaos is real. The chaos is
yeah, yeah.
absolutely real.
So what was it like for you when you had the experience of having a newborn, the first one, or the one that doesn't come with instructions,
Yeah.
or the one that doesn't come with the experience? That must have been quite terrifying.
It was terrifying. I would say that the experience of a newborn and having the newborn wasn't actually that difficult. It was more my anxiety around being alone with my newborn because I just didn't trust that I was going to not drop my kid or that I was capable of carrying him around or doing anything. And luckily for me, Joe, if anybody is Canadian, Joe worked for CP Rail for like 6 months. He trained as a conductor. So he went through this whole process to get trained and like the whole process to be a conductor on the railroad. And then they laid him off right when Jacob was born. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like bad for him, but good for me
Oh,
because
yeah.
then he was off work for 6 months trying to find another job. So he was home with me and Jacob, but it kind of made it even worse because then I was like, because he was home for so long, then I was even more scared when Jacob was like 6 months old for him to leave. But yeah, it was mostly just my anxiety because you don't know what to do. Like you don't know how to feed your kid or what a sleep schedule is or anything. And then I was like really malnourished because it was hard for me to eat when I was pregnant. And so I was like super anemic and like all these other things that didn't help my level of like health when I was anxious and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty like I would say like the first 6 months of Jacob's life were just like terrible anxiety and all that stuff. And then when I realized, I'm like, this isn't that hard. Why am I so afraid? Like it's less than a bag of potatoes, like he's so light. And yeah, mostly just figuring all that stuff out in the first 6 months gave me a lot more confidence.
Do you think that the babies can pick up on your anxiety, like through the breast milk, or just if you're stressed? Do you think the baby gets stressed?
You know what? If I I think probably, but Jacob was the chillest baby ever, and I'm so blessed that he was because I can't imagine having anxiety and then having like a colicky baby that cried all the time or anything. Like Jacob never cried. He just
Oh,
was like chill. He played. He slept really good. Like he was just such an easy baby. And even now, he's like the easiest person to raise because he never talks back to me. If I say no, you can't go there, he's never like, you suck. I want to hang out with my friends. He's just like, okay. If I ask him to do something, he just does it. He's such a good big brother. So I think I just had like, you know, I don't know, God, the universe, whatever it is, I don't know, just said like, this person should probably have a really good first baby.
yeah. So, in contrast to Jamie, is that different?
Jamie was she did sleep very well when she slept, but she was cranky a lot.
Yeah.
So she didn't like to not be on my lap. And if she was on my lap, she was mostly fine, but she was definitely crankier. Like if we tried to watch a movie or something, she was like, "Are you not paying attention to me right now? Like pay attention to me." So until she was about 3 years old, she was like that. And so, yeah, the first 3 years were basically just like, yeah, you're the center of the universe. Let's do it because I can't handle the
Yeah.
crying anymore.
And how far apart are they again? Remind me.
4 years, almost
So
exactly.
was there any point that Jacob was like a little bit jealous of like the new
Nope.
child, or was he just like, oh, welcome to the family?
Yep, never. And even now, Jacob is the nicest big brother. Like he's his 17th birthday is next week, and it's always near Halloween because obviously his birthday's the day before Halloween, and he's going to like this haunted house thing with his friends called Deadmonton, and Jamie's like, "Can I come?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." Like, sure, my
Oh,
13-year-old sister can come hang out with me and my friends. Like he's never mean if he whenever he's had girlfriends he lets her hang out with them downstairs and play video games and whatever. And he's just so nice. I don't know what it would be like to have kids that fight because my kids
yeah.
kind of like they bicker a little bit, but they are so close and they hang out and love each other and work together. And they're just, I don't know what it would be like to have kids that don't like that, aren't like that.
That's so sweet. Do you think? Because I was having conversations when I was back in Southampton with friends that had kids to try and sort of get to know what it's like, and a lot of the advice that I got was don't judge parents too hard because all
Mm.
babies are really different. So, for example, we
Yeah.
have some people that we see out all the time with little baby Alfie. They're like, oh yeah, Alfie's just with us, you know. And there's another couple that like don't go out very much, and they're like, oh no, we've got to take care of this baby because he's got a very strict sleep schedule. And I'm sometimes like, oh, why aren't you more like that? And then one of my friends back home said, never judge. You don't know what that baby's like. You know, there's so many
Yeah.
different ways of doing it. There's no right or wrong way. Some people may look a little bit more laissez-faire, a little bit more relaxed, but you have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. And it could be
Hmm.
like a huge variation of things from nature, nurture, good luck, bad luck, you know. So I thought, oh, you know, after they explained that to me, I was like, oh, you know what? I don't know. I have no idea. You know, sometimes you come and you look at a situation from the outside and you well, I'm not. I don't. I'm not. Don't want to sound judgy, but you kind of you
Yeah.
do like you're a little bit like,
Yeah.
oh, you. I think you could be doing better, and you're like,
Yeah.
actually, I don't know anything. I don't think we even got a baby. You know what I mean? So until you do, you won't know.
Yeah.
And I thought that was good advice.
I think that that is amazing advice because that is really true. Because you could seriously raise kids exactly the same, but what kids respond to and what kids need is very different. It's no different than like, somebody going through rehab with spinal cord injury. Some people respond to tough love. And if they have a doctor that's like, get over it, you can't do anything about this. So just, you have to learn to live your life this way. Somebody will respond super well to that and be like, yeah, okay, I guess I better get on with my life. And then other people will be like, that person was awful to me. They made me feel so undignified and they'll take
Yeah.
that as like an excuse to not do well, right? So I think every kid is pretty much like that too. Everybody responds differently to things. I think there's a lot you can do around like parenting that allows kids. There's like a saying that I love that says like if you save your kids too much from like hardship or make their life too easy, you sacrifice your confidence to build yours. So like you feel really good about, I gave my kids all this and I made my kids lunch every day until they were 18 or whatever, but you have that confidence, but you're sacrificing it in your kids. Like you're not giving your kids confidence. So I think a lot of parents, there's a lot you can do in that regard in terms of like, you know, allowing it to be hard for them that then allows them to self-regulate and all that stuff. But some kids just are different. Like even in the book, I was just telling Fred before we got on the live on the call that I'm re-listening to How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in part of that book, he talks about a kid that wouldn't eat his vegetables and that his dad had to figure out what the kid wanted instead of telling the kid what the dad wanted. So the dad wanted the kid to be healthy and all that stuff. And he's like, kid doesn't care about healthy. He's 3 years old. So then he told him that he could beat the book. And this is like, this book was published a long time ago, that if he ate his vegetables, he'd be strong enough to beat up the bully that was bugging him and stealing his bike every day on like the block that they live on. And so then he was like, and then the kid ate his vegetables. And I was like, you could, tell that to one kid who would be like, yeah, I want to beat that kid up and I'm going to eat my vegetables. And you could tell that same thing to another kid and be like, I don't want to beat the bully up. That sounds really scary to me. Like, I do
Yeah,
not
yeah,
want to eat my vegetables and get strong like that. Or I don't want to be like that bully or whatever, right? So,
yeah,
yeah, I think it's like you have to like test those things out for yourself because you don't know until you have the kid. And I think the other thing that I would say as good parenting advice is that like accept the kid you have, not the one you wish you did. Because there's a lot of things that you wish, just like you have this idea of what your kid should be like. And if you hold on to that, then we end up missing out on the kid that we have and
yeah,
not, enjoying whatever it is that they have that's unique and special and cool and fun. So, yeah, those two
yeah.
pieces of advice are good. Yeah.
I know what you mean. There was a conversation that I had when I was staying with my friends. They were saying that their daughter was looking at the iPad too much. And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I think it's pretty good practice to put boundaries in place. They're healthy. As parents, you need to do that."
Yeah.
And then later on, they encouraged her to go out and play in the street. And I was like, "Oh, isn't that nice?" And then she goes, "Oh yeah, me and the kid next door are going to go over the road and play in the woods." And all of a sudden, I thought, "Oh my goodness, over the road in the woods? Like that sounds, of course, I was a young kid. I was going over
Yeah.
the road in the woods all the time. But the chances of getting hit by a car are maybe like 0.1%, like very, very tiny. But upstairs in the bedroom, it's 0%. So I remember thinking, oh, that's so interesting. When you come into a household and you're like, well, your kid looks at the iPad a lot. Not that I would say that, but secretly you kind of think that like, oh, like maybe that's maybe. And then they talk about putting boundaries in place, and then the kid goes outside, and you're like, oh my goodness, like if that was my kid, it's a very complex issue. Obviously, that iPads are very bad for your health
Yeah.
as well. But it's just like, oh my goodness, now they're out in the outside world where real harm, physical harm could occur. And it's
Yeah.
just so complicated. So you don't know what it's like to be a parent. There's so many different options, and there's some better than and some worse. And yeah, it's. What are your thoughts on that?
That is the biggest struggle as a parent is allowing your kids to have the freedom to go and do the things that are risky because everything is risky, but that ultimately allow them to learn and grow and be confident in those situations. So, just as an example, on the weekend, Jacob went to a birthday party and it was camping with other 17-year-olds just alone. It was close to home, so it was like half an hour away, but they were camping in tents just by themselves by a lake, in the dark with no parents
Yeah,
around. And like I knew there was going to be some kids who had alcohol there and all that stuff. So I'm just like, oh, I hate this. And I would rather him not go. I'd rather him just stay home. And I would rather them just have a birthday party in somebody's basement where the parents are there. But I'm also like, how is that going to get him to be able to make good choices around, alcohol that is going to be inevitably a thing around anybody, no matter what age he's at. And especially now that he's getting to the age of where some of his friends are 18, and not that anybody has to be 18 to have alcohol. So yeah, those things are scary because like all in my mind, I'm like, where are they walking? Are they being dumb and getting drunk and then swimming in the lake and somebody's not noticing that somebody's drowning? And if
yeah,
somebody pukes and like they're so drunk that they like puke or choke on their puke and they die. And I'm like, these are the things that I go through in my head as a parent. But um, yeah, every little bit of freedom that you give your kid and they come back alive, then your confidence grows. So like at first when Jacob started, walking to school, I was terrified and I would be like counting the minutes until he got home from school. And then when he started being able to ride his bike around town, that I was terrified. And then when he had his car, I was terrified. And now I'm like pretty confident that he can drive anywhere. And yeah, and the more your kids do, the more confidence you have in them. And I think the worst thing that would ever happen is me never allowing my kids to have enough freedom and then them not building the skills that are going to help them make good decisions out in the wild kind of thing.
yeah,
And so yeah, it's really hard though. It's really hard. I would much rather just know where my kids are. They're home,
yeah.
they're safe. I know they're not going to get into anything. And my parents struggled with that after I was paralyzed a lot. And I know how much it hindered me in becoming a confident, independent person. So I don't want to do that to my kids because
Yeah, yeah,
my parents didn't want me to do anything, drive anywhere, go anywhere by myself. And I'm just like, I can't live like that. And even though my parents had to worry about me, that was their problem to have. So now I try and own that as my problem. Worrying is my issue, not Jacob's. So don't put it on him.
So was that both before and after the accident, or mostly after the accident?
Just after, really.
Yeah, yeah.
My parents were fine if I was with somebody else. So like I had a boyfriend right after
Mm,
my accident, basically the same boy that I liked before my accident, but I was dating him from 14 years old until 20 something. Like I just dated him all through high school. And if I, as long as I was with him, my parents weren't worried about me. So it was just me
mm,
by myself that my parents worried. But I didn't drive long distances until I was like well into my like adult
mm.
years, like in my 20s. I wouldn't drive like a 5-hour trip by myself because my parents just kept putting all these worries in my head. So instead of worrying and being like, you'll be great, prepare, make sure you have all the things that you need, take your cell phone, like all those things, my parents would be like, what are you going to do if you get into an accident? What are you going to do if somebody like tries to hurt you? What do you, and I'm like, so instead of me preparing and being, aware of my surroundings and like all these things, my parents were like putting all these things in my head. So then when I went out, that's all I was thinking of. Somebody's going to try and hurt me. What if I get into a car accident? I'll die in the ditch alone. Like all these things. And then it gave me anxiety. So now I try not to tell Jacob or Jamie any of those things. I try to give them like the tools. Make sure if you're walking to school, you're not having your headphones in so that you're aware of the traffic and you're paying attention that if, you're walking down an alley, if you're being followed or do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So I try and prepare them for the things that I'm scared of without being like, you're going to get snatched on the way to school. Do you know the statistics on people that get, taken and human trafficking? And you know what happens to those girls when they get human trafficked? Like,
Yeah.
I don't do that. But I'm just
So
like,
I have a question.
yeah.
Knowing what happened to you when you
Mhm.
were what about Jamie's age, like maybe a little bit older?
Yeah.
How do you think you would handle something like that? Say, for example, Jamie went out, had an accident, and then like got paralyzed. Because knowing what happened to your mum and your parents, how devastating do you think that would be? Like, I mean, obviously, like
Yeah.
very, but do you know what I mean? Like, I know that you've gone through it, but and also another question is, do you think worrying about it helps?
No, I don't think it helps. I do worry about it all the time. Like my brain is so conditioned. I think it's like a PTSD response to like see the dangers out in the world. And like if Jacob doesn't answer his phone one time, then my brain pictures the most morbid, awful situation. And I have to replace it with something else. So if I'm like picturing Jacob, in an awful situation that's making me worried if he doesn't answer his phone, or if Jamie doesn't answer her phone like when she's late getting home from school or something, instead of picturing that thing, I'll replace it with something good. Like I'll replace Jacob laughing with his friends and his phone being dead, or do you know what I mean? And then I replace Jamie with her being watching a volleyball game at school and her phone being in her backpack because they have to put it in their backpack at school, and her forgetting to like call me or something. So I have
Yeah.
to actively do that stuff. And the worrying about what I will do or trying to predict what I would do in that situation, I do the same thing. And this might sound like insensitive or that like I have to tell myself that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. And that's my anxiety, like coping mechanism. So no matter what happens, I'll be okay. I have to tell myself that even in the most horrible, heartbreaking situations, in the case of losing a child or somebody getting
Mm.
paralyzed or whatever, I have to tell myself that I can handle it. And I do. I tell myself if I'm sitting there worrying, I go, even if something bad happens, I can handle it. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll lose my mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's interesting. I was just wondering because that must be such a hard thing for a parent to handle. Just blindsides you. You could either be a really anxious parent, or you could be a very laissez-faire, do what you want parent. But it doesn't matter, as when it happens, it was going to take you by surprise. And
Yeah.
then it's going to be literally the worst thing ever. Like, imagine,
Yeah.
like, you can't really think of anything worse. Like, your son or daughter, something terrible happening to them, that's out of your control, and you just get that phone call one day, that is literally the worst thing ever. And I feel it actually reminds me about of my mum. My mum, you know,
Yeah.
she got that phone call
Yeah.
from Lou, and I was paralyzed, and she started screaming the house down. I remember like my dad saying, well, they've told the story quite a lot, and my mum also has like a bit of a PTSD response if I even bring it up. You
Yeah.
know, she's like, "Oh my god, you know that day took years off my life." She always says, you know, and
Yeah.
she just couldn't. Even though it wasn't, even though I'm fine. You know, I broke my back, I got paralyzed. I was alive. It was the worst news you could ever get as a parent, you know, and it was so hard for her, you know, and I can only imagine, you know, me not even being a parent yet and just having this child, and then all of a sudden being like, oh my god, now I've got this thing to worry about. Oh my god, you know, now I'm going to be anxious for the rest of my life.
Yeah. You really, that is like there, parenting is a double-edged sword. Like you have this thing that you love so much and that changes your life for in so many ways for the better. And you will never know love until you have a child. And then you have this other thing that you are so terrified of anything ever happening to this thing that you love more than life itself. And so it's really hard. The thing that I think is crazy about like your mom, and this is one of my things that I'm starting to like try and be okay with, is my son wanting to travel hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from me and him something happening when I can't be there. So like right now, if he's like going like he was going to this sleepover camping thing and I had the choice of going to hang out with my other friend an hour away, but that would put me an hour and a half away from Jacob and I wouldn't do it. I'm like I can't be an hour and a half away if something happens to him. That's just too far. So thinking about your mom in the UK and you're in France and something happened and she literally can't do anything. She's just like on the phone and she has zero control or like she still must have felt so helpless. So I just that makes me want to puke. That just makes me want to puke. But like your kids, you have to be able to allow your kids to go places and see things and do things and yeah.
So, how hard is it now where Jacob is getting to that age where you literally have to set him free? You know, you'd be like,
Yeah.
okay, you're a man, you're nearly a man, you're very nearly a man, but very soon
Yeah.
I'm going to actually have to let you go. You might have to move out, you know, we
Yeah.
might not speak every day, you know, and as time goes on, it'll be less frequent. He'll become more of a man physically, and you know he'll then you know he might have a child, and then you get to be the grandma, and
Yeah.
what a beautiful circle of life it is. But more specifically, how hard is that? Because you are right on the cusp of like letting him go. You know, like you know he's leaving the nest, and how does that feel?
Oh, it feels terrifying and also super like I'm so proud. So it's the same kind of thing that I always talk about, where like the duality of feelings you have when you have a spinal cord injury, where like you can't do things with the people that you love so much, like some of the sports or some of the amazing experiences that able-bodied people can go and do that you can't do in a wheelchair. You're so happy that they can do it, but also so sad that you can't. And I'm so happy that he's going to go off and live this big, beautiful life. And I'm so sad that I can't be a part of all of it. But yeah, I'm so proud of the person he's becoming. I think it might be different if I didn't see that he is such a responsible, kind hearted person. I might be a little bit more afraid, but I'm really not afraid for anything he does. I'm just afraid of somebody ever like tainting his awesome spirit, or do you know what I mean? Like watching your kids get their heart broken or that kind of stuff. It's really hard, but it's also part of life. Like it's just part of life.
Yeah,
We've all gone through these experiences, and being able to be there to pick up the pieces or just to support him um, is, I think, I'm honored to be able to do that. But yeah, it's really scary. It's scary knowing that like I'm not going to be the center of my kids' world, because for the majority of their life up until they're an adult, the parents are the center of their universe. And even
yeah,
though people say friends are and all that stuff, they're really not. Like they need you for so much stuff, and eventually they're not going to need you, and that's the point. So if you raise your
yeah.
kids properly, they're not going to need you for anything.
Yeah, so that must be something that you must think about, right? Or do you think about it? Like so it's coming down to that time where there's going to be, Jacob might ask you for something like a favor. Can you drive me here? And you might not want to, but you're like, well, the one day he's not going to need a lift anywhere. So this could be the last time he asks, or one of the last. Maybe this is the one of the last 10 times, one of the last 20 times he asks me. And does that make it a little bit more? You want to savor it a little bit, or is it?
Yeah.
Does it? You know what I mean? Or does it change anything? Or perhaps you're just not aware of it, and then all of a sudden it was the last time, and it's
Yeah.
gone past. And that's probably happened. There's probably been the last time you picked him up, for example.
Yeah.
The last time you
Exactly.
picked him up went and gone, and probably the last time you picked him up, you didn't think, oh, this is the last time I'm going to pick you up, because now it
Yeah.
would be obviously absolutely impossible for you to pick him up.
Yeah.
He picks you
I,
up.
yeah, exactly. I actually did like one of my like newsletters to my email list was about the lasts that you will never know, because you always know if something's your first, but you never
Mm.
know if something's going to be your last. And yeah, you the last time he sat on my lap, like there was a last time that he physically sat on my lap and I wheeled around with him, and the same will be for Jamie too. And so I really am trying to savor it. I know that it's like, he's becoming an adult and there's a lot of things that we don't get to do as frequently together. And so whenever we do, I savor it. Even just like little cuddles, if he's like hugging me or sitting on the couch beside me or whatever, I'm just like, this is what life's made of, right? It's all in
Mm.
the little things. It's not like the big extravagant things. It's always in the little things, because those are the things that you cherish and you remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as Chris and I are looking to start a family, and I
Mhm.
know it happened to you by accident, but what advice could you give someone to be less utterly terrified of the, a parenthood? Because it's just such a, you could get, like you say, you could get lucky. You could have a baby that sleeps all night, that's like super lovely, or you could get like a demon baby that cries all the time. And then also just the, so much more than just the baby stage. But I don't know. What do you think? If you could give some advice.
I think that people are much more willing to get a pet than they will a baby. And it is so much easier to raise a baby than it is a pet. I've had both, and I think that kids are easier by a mile. So if you have a dog, you guys are fine.
Yeah.
Because you could get the same thing. You could get like a demon dog, and I know that like you can give the dog back or you can
Hmm.
rehome the dog or whatever, but the amount of love that you have for your child, even if it's a really challenging child, um, you just won't, you'll never know like that. You'll never know that love. So it might be the most exhausting thing that you ever do. Um, but I really think for the most part, I want to say 90% of children are easier than we ever imagine they will be. There's definitely some tough stuff, but there's so much fun in between. And yeah, there's just like, so I don't think you should worry about it. I think that you don't make a big thing of it in your head. Don't overthink things, because yeah. And the nice thing about babies is that you can learn as you go. Like it's
Mm.
not like a thing that you have to learn everything you need to know about parenthood when the baby, like the minute the baby's born. Like it's all in stages. Like at the first stage, you're just literally learning about sleep schedules and feeding schedules, and like what does this cry mean and what does that cry mean, and this, how do I fix his diaper rash, or how do I make this kid poop because they haven't pooped in 3 days and they're uncomfortable and they have gas, and like, so
Yeah.
those are the things that you like learn about at the beginning. And then it's figuring out how to manage like solid foods and whatever. So it's a slow, sometimes often feels so slow um process. So yeah, it's you'll learn as you
Yeah.
go, and it's mostly fun.
I sometimes look at child raising, or like becoming a parent, and being like, that looks so hard. Able-bodied. How hard is this going to be in a wheelchair? Because that obviously adds an enormous level of difficulty, right? Like physically, it's just a more challenging thing. Getting the baby in the car. It's just so many more. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, to be honest, I wouldn't say it adds a layer of difficulty. I would say it's different, but I don't think it's any more difficult. Once you learn how to get your kid in the car, it takes longer for sure. It adds time. But I don't think it's like, I don't think there's a, like, it's that difficult. Well, I'm going to ask you this. What are you most afraid of? Like, what in your head has become the, like, the beast of parenting that you're like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that.
The fact that the fact that I live quite a chill lifestyle, it's going to go from chill to chaos quite quickly. The fact that I don't know what to do, I watched in videos recently about a guy, you know, Ali Abdal, the YouTuber. Anyway, he just had a baby, and he just made a little video about, you know, them having to be fed every 3 hours. I was like, I never knew they had to be fed every 3 hours, and then burped, and then changed, and then, you know, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, wow, that's just didn't know that. And then just logistical things, like sometimes it's very hard for me to get around in my wheelchair. And then I'm like, oh, well, now I've got to do that with a baby. And, you know, when people are saying, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I don't need help. You know, I'm stubbornly independent. Sometimes I might need help. And sometimes if you're doing stuff with a baby, you know, I don't know. It just, also, I don't want to be a burden for Chris, you know, like if sometimes I have needs and there are limitations to things that we can
Yeah.
do. I don't ever want that to become an issue with the kid.
Mhm.
But I know it will be at some point, and yeah, I don't know. It's just all of those
That
things.
that sounds like a lot. So if I had overthought, well, I didn't really have time to overthink. Um, I did think about those things when I was pregnant, like how am I going to do all these things, but you don't have a choice. And that's just like the thing that you have to settle into is like the are you willing to do all the other things because you want to be a parent? And if so, then none of that really matters. You will figure out all that stuff. And there's so many things in parenting that you think that the able-bodied parent is going to have to like take up the slack for if you're disabled, but it's just so not true. Like, there's plenty of like depending on what gender your child is going to be. If it's a boy, there's just going to be things that are you moms can't do for the boy. Like there's certain things that Jamie's going through right now that she does not want her dad for. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether he's able-bodied or not able-bodied, she does not want her dad for any of that stuff. And there are certain things that like Jacob doesn't want his dad for either, because like I'm more of like that like emotional anchor or whatever for my kids. And then other things like Jamie wants to go hiking and stuff, and she's just like, that's not something mom can do, but that's okay because there's a lot of things that I can do that Joe can't. And so I think that you're going to find that out. And there's like some things that will be sort of like the fun and novelty. Like one of the things that I think is amazing about parenting in a wheelchair is that you have a lap that you wheel around with all the time. And an able-bodied parent either has to have their kid in a baby carrier or they have to be carrying them with their hands in order to move around, but we don't. So you could literally be cruising around doing whatever you're doing during the day with your newborn baby on your lap. Like I just had like a nursing pillow on my lap and set my baby in the middle of it.
Do you
And
have a seatbelt?
well, this is like when like the babies were really little, they're just laying there.
Oh,
So a
okay.
nursing pillow has like a hole in the middle because it's supposed to go around your waist. So I would set it
Ah.
like at the end of my lap, and so that there was like a hole in my on my lap kind of thing that I could like set the baby in. And then they would just sort of like lay in that little hole with their head
Oh,
on the pillow.
nice.
And I would just wheel around like that. And then as they get older, yeah, then they can sit up. And I had a seatbelt on my lap. I just seatbelted Jamie in, and I just cruised around all day, like whatever I was doing. If I was going to the grocery store, they were just on my lap. That's like some of the hard stuff is, if you need your lap for something, then your kid is on it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's like a lot of things that make parenting in a wheelchair easier than able-bodied parenting. And a lot of things that make it more challenging. But don't
Yeah.
be afraid of any of those things because your kids learn so much what you can do. In fact, I'm like working with an author right now to read like a book that he's writing about a person in a wheelchair. And it's just a book. She just happens to be in a wheelchair. It's not about people in wheelchairs.
Mm.
But he's asking me all these questions. And one of the questions he had for my kids is like, what's it like for you never having a mom that you've ever seen stand up? And Jamie's answer was, it would be weird to have a mom that stands up. Like she was like,
Ah.
she's like, it would be weirder for me to have a mom that's walking than it would be for me to have a mom in a wheelchair, because she's just like, I don't know anything different. And
Mm.
so that's just what they know, and that's just what they learn. They know that you can lift them in this way, help them in this way. And there's fun things that you can do because of your wheelchair,
Mm.
that, maybe Chris won't be able to do. Like if you get like a scooter attachment, or you're like
Yeah.
for your thing, and you can, like, the kid can sit on the front of on your lap, like, and scooter with you or whatever. Cause like my nieces and nephews love that, because it's just a throttle. So they get to sit on my lap and they basically drive
Mm.
Auntie around. So
Yeah. Oh,
fun
that's
things like
nice.
that. So yeah, I think don't worry about it too much, because most of the worries are unfounded.
Mm. Do you think this is going to be like a very hard question to answer? But do you think it's harder to be a dad in a wheelchair or a mum in a wheelchair?
Um, I think I think it's honestly, I think it's probably harder to be a mom in a wheelchair,
Probably,
because
yeah.
you have a lot, like, I was responsible for feeding the babies, and like,
Mm.
and I didn't actually breastfeed for very long because I had low milk supply, and it just didn't work for very long. So Joe could have fed the kids, but he was working a lot of hours then, and he
Mm.
worked night shift and stuff. So I just, like, that was my he was working full time providing for our family, so I was like the primary parent. And so I think just having to, like, change all the diapers and do all that stuff and figure out that stuff is probably harder when you're the mom in a wheelchair, because you have more responsibility, quote unquote.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, but I think being a dad in a wheelchair is, I don't know, it's different, because there's a lot of, like, dads do a lot of things, like, Brian Kinney, like,
Yeah.
he's responsible for, like, like the deck in the backyard, and like
Mm.
storing the bikes away, and like all these things that, like, I'm like, I have no idea how a dad in a
Yeah.
wheelchair builds a bunk bed, or
Yeah.
like, does that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's probably similar to just general challenges. Like life is quite challenging when you're in a wheelchair. So I
Yeah.
think it will just be that again, just more, yeah, just more challenges, I guess. And we'll see. Yeah. There'll be physical
Yeah.
challenges. I just think that sometimes when like the mum, when the baby's newborn needs a support network, someone to do the washing, the cooking, all the the shopping, probably do all the logistics so she can stay cocooned in her little bubble, and the man provides the support network, and other things. But I'm like, I can do that. These are things that I do anyway. So, but it's just, I don't know why I'm up that. I've got the seed of doubt planted. Like, will I be able to do it good enough? I don't want to let anyone. I don't want to let the team down. When you're in a partnership, you're a team. I'm always like
Yeah.
reminding Chris that we're on the same team. So if you win, we win. So that I want to be the best team that we can be. So I don't want to let the side down with my disability. Not that I would, but like, do you know what I mean? Am I
Yeah.
gonna, like, the best team member would be someone who wasn't in a wheelchair. Obviously, he could, but I have to do the best that I can. So maybe I'd
Yeah.
like try and overcompensate, or I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that that's just like societal stigma a little bit, maybe, that like able-bodied people can be better teammates. I know that, like, so my Ricardo, like, I went to his birthday party, and he's with my friend Katie, and her previous relationships were not terrible. I don't want to say terrible, but the men that she was with were not a tenth of the guy that Ricardo is. And her dad always says that, like, Ricardo has done more for you as a woman, and like for your family and your other kids and everything, in the last like 2 years that you've been together, than all those guys ever did in the 10 years that you were with them. Like, he is so successful, he's so helpful, so great, even though he's very traditionalist in terms of, like,
Mm.
he doesn't change diapers or anything like that,
Oh, really?
really. Yeah, they have a very traditional, like, relationship that way, but he does provide the support and all the other things that she needs, in a way that she's never been given before, because she's had kids with another man, her
Ah.
previous relationships that she was with for years and years before too, because her first husband passed away, and then her second one, they separated. But so yeah, like, I think it's just like, nobody should assume that the able-bodied men are better, or able-bodied partners are better, but you'll be fine. You'll totally be
Mm.
fine. And I think, don't overthink it. And you have me. I can help you with all the logistics of like, how do I carry my baby around? And you've got
Yeah, yeah,
Brian. Like
yeah.
we're both like good support systems. There's a couple questions here that I thought maybe we should like answer just because we're like getting close to the end of the podcast. Ben wants to know, I think this is addressed to me, obviously. Have you ever worried about your kids growing up and not needing you so much? My daughter's just become a teen. Um, yes, I do worry about that because I'm so used to being a mom and that's like part of my identity that I don't know what I would do if I wasn't, but I am very good at involving myself in the community. So I do a lot of volunteer work with my local rehab hospital. I'm on like a patient advisory committee. I just started part of this like research study. So I do a lot of things that I feel like fill me up in this other aspect of my life that's going to continue whether my kids are around or not. And I think that's important for people to do because a lot of people that I know who make their kids their whole life, they don't know what to do with themselves when they leave. Like if they're the sports parent or they're whatever, and they don't have anything for themselves. So just make sure that you have something for yourself. Um, and yeah, Joe and I try to make sure that our relationship is strong and that we have, you know, a relationship other than just parenting. And so I think those two things would be my advice. Just make sure you have something for yourself. But it is hard watching your kids become teens and they definitely don't need you very much. Like yesterday I called Jacob from downstairs. I'm like, Jacob, come hang out with your family. Cause like he just is in his own little world with his own buddies and all that stuff. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
We did have another one, which was
Okay.
this one. Hey guys, I want to tell you that after lots of hustle and hard work, I am now into med school, but I am experiencing ableism. Can you tell me, please, how to deal with this? I would say, what you'd have to be more specific. Like,
Yeah.
what sort of ableism is it? Because I, you know what I mean. It's such a broad thing. It can be quite vague. So, but I
Um,
don't know unless you want to try and answer that.
I don't really have a good answer for that because I kind of have a pet peeve with ableism, like just the notion of ableism in general. And I don't disregard that the feeling of ableism exists, that the world is more structured and set up for able-bodied people. But I also don't believe that the world should be structured around minorities to a huge degree because we should the world has developed to accommodate a large population of people. And when that accommodation, like ramps and stuff like that, that's not like taking away from anybody's experience. But, say we started like making every accessible stall or every stall in the grocery store accessible or every bathroom stall accessible. Then we're going to come up against like all these things that create problems because there's too high volume and not enough like spaces and things like that, right? So I think that we should structure the world within reason to accommodate minorities such as people with disabilities. And I don't think that just because the world is structured a certain way that people are intentionally discriminating against people with disabilities. I think that there hasn't been a lot of people in med school with disabilities, so therefore there hasn't been a reason to structure it in a way that accommodates it. And I don't think that that's ableist. I think that that's just reality because ableism and ism for me brings up like intention and that people are intentionally trying to keep people with disabilities like in a box. Um, and I don't think that's the truth. And I think ableism is the only reason that we have wheelchairs and ways for people to drive because if there wasn't ableism that strove for like something better than what our limitations would allow, we would never have the things that we have today. Because if somebody was like, you should just accept your limitations and accept them and embrace them, then why would we ever need a wheelchair? I mean, what isn't it okay to just not get around? What like, do you know what I mean? Like you could just take that too far. So that's a slippery slope. Anyway, I think change your mindset around ableism instead of giving it a label and seeing it everywhere. I think that it does you a disservice. I think that it allows you to miss the opportunities for paving the way for other people, which you have this wonderful opportunity. You're in med school. So I say focus on the opportunities to pave ground and to make an impression that's going to help people see that you belong there and less like worry less about these things that you think are keeping you down, like the ableism that you think exists around. Not that it doesn't exist, but find opportunities to change minds and hearts instead of it taking away your opportunity, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I would have to know more about the situation before
me
I could
too.
comment, but
I
yeah,
would have to know more because there are definitely people in certain situations that may actually be trying to keep you down. Like he's never going to be able to be a doctor, or why are you even going through med school? Like if you're experiencing stuff like that, then that's a different story, because that is people that are intentionally trying to change your course based on their beliefs about what you're capable of doing as a doctor, and that is true ableism, I think.
there you go.
Yeah.
Before we go, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
This went off on a total tangent on parenting. I can't believe we talked about parenting for that long. It was crazy.
I enjoyed it a
Um,
lot. I was
yeah.
really enjoying asking you questions about it. It was nice. But
Uh,
you did get a new scooter attachment, so maybe
oh yeah,
tell us about
I
that.
did get that. I did want to talk about that a little bit. Mostly because I'm so friggin' excited about the usability and affordability of this scooter. So if anybody has ever been like, wanting to get a Baytech, which is like kind of like a
I'm in the
it's
market for one.
okay. So this thing, it's Ella Smart, ELE Smart. The company is Ella Smart. It's from China. So if you're one of those people that, is like, I'm not going to buy something from China, then don't buy this. But you can order it off of Amazon, like in Amazon in America and Canada, and I'm pretty sure anywhere else too. And it's so a Baytech, I think starting is like $15,000, at least here. They're very, very
Hmm.
expensive. And this thing retails for $2,000 Canadian, and in the US it retails for $1,600. And it mounts just like a Baytech. Like it has a hitch. You put it on, it takes 2 seconds. I am so friggin' excited about this thing. And I took it for a test drive, and it was amazing. The battery, we went 14 kilometers. The battery didn't make a dent. It got around so easily. Like I'm so excited about this thing because any opportunity people can get with a disability to have something that changes their life that's affordable, I think needs to be talked about. So I'm so pumped about this. I'm doing a review of it, and I'll let you guys know all the like details of that in the review. But I'm so pumped about it. So if you're in the market for a scooter attachment that goes on your wheelchair, check this out. Especially or if somebody that is in a wheelchair and you want to get them a Christmas present, like a very expensive Christmas present.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounds like a great Christmas present. So yeah, I've just been looking. There's one on AliExpress. I'm a little bit skeptical because it says it's only 170 euros. So
Is it an Ella Smart?
yeah, Ella Smart. It looks really
Oh,
good, but it's 170 euros. So I think that's a little cheap.
I'm not sure, but I would have to see the picture.
Yeah, it
Um,
looks really good. Look, this is the first one I clicked on, but it does look really cool, and I would like, yeah, I think it would be very, very cool to have one like that.
um, that's hilarious. I'm just like reading some of these comments. Dad in a wheelchair, you can't even kick a football with your son. Yep, that's absolutely one of the sad things about being a parent in a wheelchair. And when Jacob, the same question that the author asked my daughter about, like, what would be like to have a mom? What's it like to have a mom that's never walked or whatever? Jacob said, I don't really care that my mom's never walked, other than she can't really play a bunch of sports with me. And he was
Mm.
like, I like to lift her. So that was it. But like, that was
Oh,
his like number one thing is like, I'm sad that she can't play sports with me. So I guess that
yeah.
would be a thing for boys. Um,
Oh,
um,
here's one. Look, that same guy, Daz. I live in Bishop's Waltham, pretty close to Southampton. I know exactly where Bishop's Waltham is, Daz. So I grew up in Southampton. We must have had this conversation before. But yeah, there you go. That is, I know where you mean.
where else there was like,
Yeah. So then, anyway, that Ella Smart looks very cool. I can't wait to see your video on that. It'll be
yeah,
very exciting.
I'm gonna, I'm trying to get them to send you one. So we'll see.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
that would
put
be
them in
great.
contact with you because I'm like double the content is better than one.
Oh, did you
But
get yours for free then?
I did get mine for free to try it out. And here's the thing that's so cool about this is that I okay, so I became a brand ambassador for the cushion company that I like for Blake Medical just by buying my own cushion and doing a review, which somebody commented on that review and said worst review ever, but wouldn't elaborate. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, you won't elaborate on why my review is terrible. I'm like, I think I did a pretty good job. I got a brand ambassadorship out of it.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then this other one, nobody'd even heard of and back when I bought my like scooter attachment, it was called a CNE bike, but it was actually the Ella Smart company, I guess, or maybe Ella Smart bought this like CNE bike, whatever. So I did this review on this obscure bike that I got off of Amazon from China, and I was like, this thing's awesome. And then the company contacted me and was like, yeah, I guess I'm probably the only review of this bike on the internet. So they were
No
like, we'd
way.
like you to test out our new model or whatever. So
They
I thought that
contacted you.
they contacted me. Yeah.
What?
So
That's amazing.
they said we watched your video and we like took notes and we changed a bunch of things about the design to make it more user friendly, and we would want to see if we'll test out our like new model or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, it's so cool that you can just put stuff on the internet. And now I get to like test it out and give them, I already am emailing back and forth with them about all of the feedback that I have about the current
Nice.
model because they're really interested in the feedback. So yeah, I'm like pumped about it. And they're from China. So there's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
a language barrier there a little bit. And obviously it's a Chinese company, so they can manufacture cheaper than in North America or Europe or whatever. They have all of the manufacturing stuff all like set up and whatever, but it's like super good quality. Like Joe was like, this is crazy, like how amazing the quality is of this thing. Like he's just, and so I didn't even know how much it was when he was putting it together. He's like, this thing has to be like 6-7 grand. Like there's
Yeah.
no way they're going to retail this for this almost the same price as your other scooter. And then I emailed them and she said it's like literally like $400 more than the other scooter that attaches a different
Wow.
way. So I'm going to do a review of like the way how my other scooter has held up, how that one attaches, the difference in the attachment. The only thing that was a little hard was the instructions. They didn't have detailed instructions in the package. They had a video, but it was just like words across the screen because again, the English words across the screen, like the person doing it was Chinese, obviously, and the English version of the instructions was very fast words across the screen. So I was like,
Yeah.
you need to slow that video down a lot.
Yeah.
And I
But
said to
then
Joe, I'm like,
now they'll have your video. They can point and say, "Oh, look, here's how you put it on the wheelchair," and there'll be you there, like with your cheesy grin, like, "Hey, look at my free scooter."
I know it's so cool. I did say that in my video. I'm always transparent about like if I get something for free, which I don't. Like I have had so many power wheelchair companies. That's funny. Yeah, I'm a true influencer now, which always makes a little bit, it doesn't really make, I get that when you have some sort of platform that allows you to share information with a larger audience, that's advertising dollars for them. I mean, the amount that they would have to pay an influencer to advertise for them is probably more than what they would pay to just give me the free scooter or whatever. So I get it. It's more cost effective for them to just give me the scooter. But it seems counterintuitive that the more influence you have and the more famous you get, the more shit you get for free when you don't need it. Because
Yeah, yeah.
technically, the more fame you garner, you should be like richer. But anyway, I'm not rich, so I'm very
No,
happy that I got the free scooter. But
but it makes sense if you are going to send out free products, you want a big audience.
yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've had probably like 7 power wheelchair companies contact me to try and review like a power wheelchair. Um, like the but I am not like a power wheelchair user. Put in the comments if you think it would be fun to see me review a power wheelchair. But like I'm like, what am I gonna do with a power wheelchair?
Yeah.
I don't want a power wheelchair in my house. So
And
I
also,
always say no.
you don't have anything to compare it to. You're not like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is really awkward and slow and uncomfortable compared to my manual wheelchair. I can imagine,
Yeah.
right? You'd be like, yeah, I'm not putting in any. You would have to give that power wheelchair to a power wheelchair user to give it a proper review, right? Otherwise,
That's what I think. That's why I've always turned them down because I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm very careful of the audience, of my audience and what I have to offer in terms of like influence because I would never like there I probably get at least like 4 things a week of people trying to tell me to do a review of their product. And it's
Mm.
just like it's just they spaghetti. They just send emails because one of the things was like a weighted vest for running. I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't even know what my channel's about. You're just sending out this thing to thousands of influencers. But I will never ever review something that I don't think is like of genuine value to my audience. Um,
That's funny
and
for running.
for running, I've gotten shoes, like specific running shoes for like comfort during running. I've gotten all these things that I'm like, and they go, "We love your content. Your latest video was so inspiring." And then I'm like, if you watched my latest video, you would know that I am definitely in a wheelchair and paralyzed. Like, it's so dumb. I
Yeah.
hate it. It's really annoying. I set up
Yeah.
a different email for like business stuff so that I can like filter through, like I can get
Mm.
that stuff filtered through because I'm just like, this is dumb. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that part of it, but I really do like reviewing these kinds of things because I never want somebody to spend. So if I get this free product and I review it and I save somebody from spending money on something junky, or I save somebody $10,000 because they know that they can buy this thing that works like a Baytech and is way cheaper,
Yeah.
then I'm like, I'm happy about that because I would never buy a Baytech. Like I'm not poor. I mean, like Joe makes a decent amount of money and I try and make some money, but like whatever I make at my influencing stuff. So we're not like poor, but I'm also not like rolling in dough and I have my kids' college to like pay for and stuff. So I'm like worried about that stuff rather than buying all this like mobility equipment that's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. So I would never buy that stuff just
Mm.
on principle. And so I always try and find something cheaper. And I guess I'll be the guinea pig if these like cheaper things work, which is why I love finding this
Yeah.
stuff and then talking about it. But it's very cool when you get something for free. So
Yeah.
I guess this is what you
I
yeah.
would want. I want one too.
I am
Although,
I
so
am I am working on it.
thank you very much. I have to say though, when you give the review, like it's just come out of the box, right? It's very shiny. You put it, you wheel around. You're like, this is amazing. But like the review should be like, come back in a year and I'll tell you
Yeah.
what's gone wrong with it,
Yeah.
and how it might compare to like other brands. But I do know like there's a huge markup, and once you see something that looks exactly like something else, and it's made in China, you know that they don't have like the R&D costs, and they can just reproduce
No.
it quite easily.
Exactly.
Very easily like repackage it for cheap. But you do have to do a review like 6 months, a
Yeah.
year, and be like, this is how it handles in the snow, this is how it handles in the mud, this is what's gone wrong with it, what hasn't gone wrong
Yeah.
with it.
That's why I'm happy that I have a previous model that I'm going to compare it to
Ah, yeah.
that and then I will
Mm.
come back and review it like in 6 months or whatever. Because a bunch of people are like, how is the other one doing? And I've had it for years, probably 6 years maybe. And the battery is still amazing. Like it's like the day I bought it, the battery stays just as good. The only thing that broke on the one that I currently have is there's like this little nut thingy that allows my casters to stay up that basically locks your casters above the ground. And the plastic part, not even the nut, just the plastic, it's like a wing nut kind of thing. And the wing nut was plastic, the outside of it. The plastic part broke eventually.
Mm.
But Joe just bought like a thing off of Amazon and replaced it. Which is the other cool thing is that the parts on it aren't I don't think they're proprietary. Like you can just
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
fix them with things. But anyway, we'll see what it's
That's
like.
good.
But anyway, yeah, I was very excited about that. Do you have a magic trick for us? A bunch of people were like, when I was on the solo one, we didn't do magic.
Oh,
And
I didn't prepare one,
oh,
actually. Let me see. What have I got here? I did one for you guys
did
on
somebody call
the
my grin cheesy? Hang on, I'm like reading this comment. Did
that
somebody
was
call
me,
my
I
grin
think.
cheesy? Oh, was
I
it?
said you'd be cheesing on the video with
Oh,
your free thing.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. Uh,
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't actually have a magic trick prepared, but we can
okay.
try something if you want. Let's have a look.
Ooh. second scooter from Timu. Ashton Lee, can you put the like just what your or email me or something? Put what your Timu scooter is. Like I'm so curious if there's other like very cheap options out there.
Right, I'm going to take this card with the little cat on it, right?
Okay.
Right, yeah, and we're going to pop it just under here, okay? And we're going to take another card, the Queen of Diamonds. Now, the Queen of Diamonds is a very special card, because look, if I take it and I give it a little rub, they change places. Look, and now I've got this, and the Queen of Diamonds is under there.
I love that. So just a little like plug here. For anybody that did not go to the Patreon hangout with us on Saturday, Fred did that trick on Saturday. He did a little extra too with that trick, but it was a very cool Patreon hangout. I'm just gonna give like a shout out. Nolan was there, so Nolan Watson. The comments don't matter. I'm just shouting out people. James was there. Let's see who else is here that was there.
Chris was there.
Is Chris
Ryan's not here today. Ryan hasn't commented today.
Chris was there, but I don't see Chris in the comments today. Normally Chris is here too, but Chris was there. Ryan was there.
The secret to the trick is if you look at the cat real carefully.
Whoa! That's the coolest part. See, I was gonna say you did that on the Patreon thing. I didn't know if you were gonna do that here. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a fun Patreon hangout. We like hung out for I think 40 minutes longer than we were supposed to because it's my favorite thing to do is just hang out and talk to people. Yeah, so
I'm gonna go back to chewing my gum.
Yeah, go back to chewing your gum. Anyway, yeah, this was a fun one. There's lots of comments that we didn't get to. But
oh look who it is! It's my wifey. She's just come home.
Aw, she's timed the podcast.
Say hello to the internet. There are literally tens of people watching.
The coolest tens of people watching. Look at like the comments. I think it's so amazing that we have like 26 people in the room, and look at how many comments we have. Like it's nice. I'm so proud of that everybody talks to each other and. Yes, it's cool. She's making you go. She's like,
she's all bashful. She's all bashful. Just come back from the gym.
Aw, you're glowing and very beautiful.
Can't hear anything though.
Oh, she can't hear anything because I got my headphones on.
Well, then tell her what I said. She
says, "You look beautiful."
Thank you. Is the sauna?
Yeah, she's just been she's just been to the gym and the sauna.
Yeah.
Nice.
Go and get out of here.
Oh my god, you guys are so cute. You guys are so cute.
Thank you so much. Right, I'm glad you asked for a magic trick. Actually, that was really quite. I know I was practicing those the other day on the live hangout. So, yeah,
that was
nice.
That was a good trick. Okay, well, you better have a new one for next week.
Sleight of hand and misdirection. That's the key.
Really? I didn't know. Had no idea that's what magic was about.
Yeah. Right, thanks guys. I really appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye guys.
Peace and love. Bye.